Hey everybody, I'm Jesse and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about tariffs. What are tariffs? And are they taxes on the American people or, the population of any country? Because I get quite a bit of static in the comments saying that I have no idea what tariffs are and I don't understand and this or that, and that tariffs are taxes on the American people. So I decided I'd do a whole video on it and explain to people what tariffs are and what they are not, because a lot of people are confused, but they think they know, and that there lies the problem. If you're ignorant about something, then that's fine. There's no problem there. But it's when we think we know the truth, we think we know what the story is, that's when we get into problems. So I'm going to explain in detail what tariffs are and what they are not. So to begin with, I'm going to read you a short little thing here explaining how tariffs are collected and whatnot. And so you can get a basic idea of what tariffs are. For those of you who don't know, I know a lot of you already know, but this is for the people who keep insisting that, that I don't know what I'm talking about. So here we go. Tariffs are taxes imposed by governments on imported or exported goods. They are typically collected at the point of entry or exit, such as ports, airports, or border crossings, when goods cross international borders. Okay. Customs agencies such as U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, in the United States administer the collection. The importer or exporter or their designated customs broker typically pays the tariffs based on the goods classification, value, and applicable tariff rate. So, the companies who send the goods across borders, they pay the tariff, and they pay the tariff before they are allowed to unload their goods. It'll sit there and rock at anchor until they pay their tariff. They're not allowed to unload it until they pay their taxes. Okay? Now, that's just point blank, that's what it is. Okay? Now, I make that specific point because tariffs are not collected at the cash register at the grocery store or the supermarket or at the checkout at Amazon or whatever. That's not where they're collected. They're not collected at the consumer level. They're collected at the upper business, the shipping level, at borders and at airports and docks. That's where the tariffs are paid by the companies, not by the people. All right. Now, the companies can raise their prices in order to offset those tariffs, in order to keep their profit margins fluffy. Yes, they can do that. All right. And this is the sticking point right here, the key point that people don't understand, why it's not a tax on the working man. Because if they raise their prices, we can choose not to buy that product. You have no choice when it's a tax. You have no choice. Okay? But if they raise the prices on their product, we can choose not to pay that tariff. We can choose not to help them pay that tariff because they don't have to raise their prices the cost of the tariff. They can raise a portion of that or double that. They're free to do what they want with the prices of their goods. They're not regulated to raise the price of their goods 30% because the tariff was 30%. They can raise the price of their goods 0% all the way up to infinity. It's up to the company because it has nothing to do with the price of their goods. It's a fee for selling and doing business in the United States that all other companies charge the United States to do business in their countries. And these are just facts. I'm not making shit up here. These are just facts. And when we have a choice, if the Zonami phone or whatever, the price of it triples because of tariffs, we can buy a different phone. Buy a different phone where you don't have to pay a tariff. Because what tariffs do, they collect money for the government, their income. And for those of you who don't know, that's how the government operated and paid its bills before they set the income tax. They turned those taxes in on us so that we had to start paying income tax, and then they gave the rest of the world a free ride. They quit tariffing the rest of the world. So all these big businesses stopped paying their taxes. And we're not tariffing the people of the rest of the world. We're not tariffing the populations. We're tariffing big businesses. All right? That's the point. These big businesses like Apple and Google and all these Ford and Mercedes, Toyota, all these businesses like that, these billion-dollar businesses are paying these fees. Not their population and not our population. Now, if they want to jack up the prices on their shit, they're free to do so. And we're free not to buy that overpriced shit. That's better than a straight up income tax to me. I'd much rather have that than an income tax coming directly out of my check. Now, but that's how people get confused. They don't understand what's going on. And look at the movies and TV shows and commercials and stuff of Europe or Japan. You don't see those people in those countries over there driving Fords and Lincolns and Buicks and shit all over the place. Why? Because they have massive tariffs on our shit that we can't export over there. All right. But you show a movie here in America and shit, there's Toyotas, there's BMWs, Mercedes, Hyundais, and all this shit all over the damn place. Because we don't tariff their products coming in here. We don't tariff their cars. We don't tariff their goods. So it's just common sense reciprocal. And if you start charging more and more money for a Mercedes, then an American person's going to look at that Mercedes and now it's a lot higher price. So they're going to turn around and buy American. And the way it's supposed to work before all our manufacturing got sent overseas with all this global trade network bullshit, you turn around, you buy a Ford, and Ford manufacturers build the Ford, and they get paid part of that money that you bought the Ford with. So then they can afford to go buy houses because they have jobs. And who gets some of that money for buying the house? Construction workers. And what can construction workers do with all that money? They can buy Fords. And it circles around. It stays at home. The money, and we enrich each other with that. When we send it all overseas to China and Taiwan, we make ourselves poorer. And all this global trade shit with relaxing all the trade laws and removing all the tariffs on everybody, and that argument there about how that allows poor people to buy, to have access to cheap Chinese shit. Yeah, I understand that argument, but it's still ridiculous because you gutted the middle class and just made them poor. Instead of raising the poor up into the middle class by strengthening our economy and giving people jobs and building and making more jobs, you just gut the middle class and send them down to the poor and give them a bunch of Chinese shit. And that's what's happened in America. So these tariffs are not taxes on the American people because we have choice. We can choose not to pay that price hike. It's a tax. The companies, Hyundai or whatever, I don't know where all that shit's made, whatever, they must pay the tax. Those billion-dollar companies must pay the tax to unload their goods onto American shores. Yes, they must. But the American people don't have to. We have the choice. You can buy a Ford, a one made here in America, and you don't pay that tariff. So it's not a tax because it's voluntary. It's by choice. If you want to pay that extra money, go ahead, be my guest. But at least understand what you're doing. You're not forced to do it. Nobody's threatening you with jail if you don't buy a Hyundai or a whatever a Toyota or whatever. Nobody's threatening you with jail if you don't pay that tariff. Nobody. It's free. It's a free choice for us. We can buy American-made goods and not pay the tariffs. So that's what it is. It's not a tax on Americans. That's some shit that people like to spread around and just to try to make Trump look bad. And it's bullshit. He's doing the right thing. And smart people who will take just a few minutes and do a little research into the subject will stand behind him and support him in this shit. Because he's helping his country. And that's the bottom line. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by pressing on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I appreciate those of you who do that, and I'll leave that link down in the description too. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, bath mats, shower curtains, all kinds of stuff over there. But I'll leave that link down in the description too for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a hell of a lot, so thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.